Let me take you into a room. It's bright, temperature controlled, smells of cleaning products. Around the room are screens, surgical equipment, hand washing sinks, and yellow clinical waste bins. Operating theatre lights shine red and blue onto medical trolleys. Take a look around. There are 24 trolleys. On each trolley, a patient lies. You might think you're in a hospital, but this is not. Welcome to the dissecting room. These patients are our silent teachers. They are individuals who have donated their bodies for us to learn from. Let me take you into their world and see the difference that their donation has had on you and your loved ones, probably without you even realising. I'm Claire Smith, and I'm a professor of anatomy. Come with me into my classroom. It is filled with 100 medical students, all eager to learn. They work to examine, cut, and saw our donors. This is dissection. It won't surprise you, I love everything to do with the human body. Always have. Probably because I grew up with epilepsy and I wanted to understand what was going on in my own brain. Have you had a medical condition that's made you stop and think? I have. I've also had cancer, twice. It might sound strange, but at times we can connect to our silent teachers. And there was one in particular. Her name is Tony. She was a similar age to me and, like me, a mum of two. We both had cancer, but she sadly died. Because she donated her body, our paths crossed, and I had the privilege of working with her and her amazing family to teach thousands. But education hasn't always been this accessible or ethical. Back in the 18th century, public dissection of criminals was commonplace, with blood, guts and gore everywhere. Attitudes changed, and dissection became for the privileged few, the doctors, and it moved behind closed doors. Various regulations followed, but informed consent still wasn't in place. The 1984 Act stated you could donate your body, but also your family members. Some of you are thinking it. Yes, you could donate your mother-in-law. Things were also taken though, and this came to light in the Bristol and Alder Hey scandals, where organs from deceased children had been routinely collected without consent. Reform followed in the 2004 Human Tissue Act, and since then, body donation can only be made by the individual whilst they are alive. You might be thinking though, Claire, with all the technology today, do we still need our silent teachers? Yes, I believe we do. There are lots of ways to learn about the human body. I teach using 3D printing, ultrasound, and virtual reality. These are powerful tools, but they can't alone replicate the feel, complexity, or ethics of real humans. Now, step a little closer to our dissecting table. This teacher is a 65-year-old male. They're cool to the touch, a little grey looking. Their head has been shaved, but their face is their face with wrinkle-lined scars and a small tattoo. This donor has been fresh frozen. They haven't been preserved with any chemicals, and this makes their tissue really lifelike and that's important in training. Picture this. You're in A&E, a car crash. A patient's heart cannot fill with blood. The fibrous bag that surrounds the heart has been torn. An artery is bleeding. The team work to quickly open up the chest, stop the bleeding, and repair the bag. The patient's heart can beat again. But where do they learn this? In my classroom, 40 trainees work with 10 donors to perform this procedure for the first time. They don't stop there. Over a couple of days, they'll perform more than 20 operations. And when finished, our teacher, the donor, is placed in a coffin and is returned to the family for burial or cremation. Now, managing the supply and demand of the deceased is not always straightforward. At times, we might just be working on one area, like cancer of the head and neck. And for this, we would need 20 heads. I can never say that and it feel okay or sound right. The reality, though, is that we can't always get these from the UK, so we have to place an order with a for-profit company in the USA who just fly them over, just like a parcel. Sounds awful, doesn't it? And it is actually really, really difficult. But is that we have to focus on the science. Do you remember the donor Tony? He died of cancer. Tony had a really rare 1 in a million cancer of her lacrimal gland, just here, above her eye. You might have heard of her. She was the first in the UK to donate her body to anatomy, public display, gave consent for images, and chose not to be anonymous. We had Tony's scans in life, and we scanned her in death. We don't normally get to do this. So we knew that she was going to have a lot of tumours. But we weren't quite prepared for what we found. Tony had over 200 tumours in her body. We were able to explore these with experienced doctors and students. The tumours were growing their own blood supply and were sending seedling tumours around the body to spread the cancer. What happens behind the closed doors of the dissecting room is at the forefront of medicine and healthcare. We work with surgical robots, new devices, rare and common conditions. Yet, this niche sector runs on a system built in the 1990s of postcodes and filing cabinets. We're separate to the NHS, treated as an outside agency, funded by higher education. But every day, we work with NHS practitioners training NHS staff to benefit all patients. That's all of us. So, what could we collectively do? First, supply and demand. We can stop importing hundreds of body parts. Import brings with it double standards. Those 20 heads are never returned to the USA, and they're not afforded the same status in the UK. So disposal is through clinical incineration. What does that mean? Well, I'm really sorry to tell you. It means with the used hospital gloves, any other hospital waste in that yellow clinical waste bin. I don't know about you, but I can't see any human body part as waste. If we work together, we could develop a UK digital centralised donation system with a network of fresh frozen repositories. We could serve our own UK needs. We need healthcare professionals to know and talk about being a silent teacher. At times, we might need advertising campaigns, just like they do with organ donation. I also think we can make so much more from every donation. Again, collectively, if this patient's scans and notes followed them from being a patient to being a silent teacher, we would be able to utilise the power of AI and big data. We could look for trends. We could understand more about our bodies. I would know how best to use that donation, how to educate people. We tell the families of donors that their donation is really important, which of course it is. But I think we can be more honest about the real impact. It's really rare to say to Joe and Jason, Tony's parents, her head was used to train specialist eye surgeons, her legs were used to train sports therapists, and her liver was used to show to lots of different groups how cancer affects the functioning of organs. So I'd like to ask for your help. Let's raise awareness and talk about being a silent teacher. Let's work together to develop a system that meets our future healthcare needs. And I think we can do something else really important too. Let's widen access. Education shouldn't just be for the privileged few. I'm not talking about a return to the public dissections of the 18th century. But I am saying anyone who works on the human body in any way, shape or form should be able to learn from one. In life, we have an opportunity to make a difference in terms of our actions, but also how we make people feel. Only a few options enable us to do this in death. Tony, in her diary, said, "I may have lost an eye, but I can see more clearly than ever what's important in life." Tony knew that by becoming a silent teacher, she would help people. She probably didn't know, though, that she was going to go on to teach thousands, and that those thousands would go on to treat millions of patients. Tony has been watched in the documentary My Dead Body by millions of members of the public, teaching them about their own bodies. Tony, like all of our silent teachers, has created this everlasting ripple of knowledge that affects us all. So thank you to Tony, and thank you to all our unsung heroes, the silent teachers.